Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Louis B. Free Radio Show, Brain Food from the Heartland. As promised, I have B. Alston on, New York Times bestselling author. And I can already tell a really nice guy with all your
Thank
successes.
you.
The new book just released yesterday, correct?
Absolutely.
Wow. Amari and the Great Game. I've got lots of questions to ask you at a very, like I say, very brief period of time. And as I said earlier, BB, that I may go in weird places. The dedication for my mom, Zonga, who taught me I could do anything.
Absolutely.
Tell me about mom. Tell me about that a little bit, if you will.
Oh, absolutely. So my mom was a single parent. She's kind of like, which isn't uncommon these days. She always taught me I could be anything I want to. I put my mind to. Anything I tried to do as a kid, she encouraged me. And she was just an all around great mom. She's exactly what you would want in a mom. Supportive. And she's just as thrilled about everything that's happened as I am. So that's awesome.
That's beautiful. And I like it. Now I want to go all the way to the back of the book to your acknowledgments. Again, I know I've got a weird way of this. If you're okay with it. I find you really full of gratitude. You've got that attitude of gratitude, BB Alston.
Absolutely.
I love that. Just reading the acknowledgments. And again, I'm reading for an interview. I read maybe the book a little bit differently than what other people, because I want to see the dedication. I want to see the acknowledgement. That attitude of gratitude from mom also, would you say?
Oh, absolutely. From mom, from my wife. There's so many people, you see the name on the front of the book, and as the author, but there's so many people that go into it that you can't even imagine. From the people from your support system to the people who help you write. Like my wife, she when I was still kind of learning how to write, she would she would pay for that stuff for me. There was some time I took off working for a little while to kind of work on my writing a little bit, and she would always be supportive. That kind of thing, that's just invaluable, and I'm just so grateful. Absolutely.
I love that. With all the successes that you've had, you're very down to earth and a lot of gratitude. Because again, having your books and published in 27 countries, and my guess is, and all the different languages, etc., that most people, many people, I'll say, probably would struggle to name maybe 27 countries and languages. I don't know. I should try it sometime and see how many I can. But again, it's 30 weeks on the New York Times bestseller list, and a major motion picture currently being developed by Universal. Wow, that's a lot.
I feel like I'm in a fairy tale sometimes. Like maybe I'm in a storybook. Sometimes that's what it feels like.
Again, and again, that I love how that the gratitude and your warmth really comes through. Tell me a little bit more about your wife.
Oh man, my wife, she's probably the best person I know. So we met at a restaurant. We both worked fast food together. That's how we met. And we both had a love of writing, and that's kind of how we came together. We both love to write. And man, she's just been probably my biggest support system ever since then. Like I said, there's been times where she's let me not have to work, so I could kind of work on my writing. And then I've gotten like editors that help me, learn the story, the process of writing, what goes into it, with books and everything. And so, just kind of being able to share the success with her now is like so gratifying, So she's amazing, and I'm glad to have her in my life. Absolutely.
I hear that, and I'm sure it's likewise. I'm sure she's very glad to have you also. So where does it, when you're developing characters, again, for certainly the first book, but now Amari and the Great Game, how do you do it? Where does it all come from?
I sometimes ask that question myself sometimes. Like Amari, she just kind of popped into my head one day. I created the world, right, with this magical world where there's supernatural creatures are real and they live among us, and you might have a witch as your next door neighbor, or your bellman's a werewolf or something, and I just kind of played with that, and then Amari just kind of jumped into my head, and I knew exactly how she spoke and how she felt and how she saw the world, and so I just kind of went with it, and then for my other characters, a lot of them are based off on just a kind of a amalgamation of people I know in my real life, like Elsie. She's Amari's best friend. She's kind of based on some of the best friends I've had over the course of my life. Some of the people that meant a lot to me, and those great, the kind of those positive characteristics that kind of stood out to me over the years. So that's kind of where it comes from.
So they become like a compilation, the different characters of people that you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then did they start to did it start to develop? I hate to say on their own, but I've heard from novelists that say the characters tell them, no, I wouldn't do that, or what are you
Yeah.
writing that for? Does that happen? That just blows my mind. Does that happen with you,
You
BB
know,
Wilson?
so what happens is, you create these characters and you try to make them as much as a real person as you can. And then once you have a firm, once they become a real person in your mind, and you know how they act, they do kind of take their life of their own. They become like real to you. And so you can have a conversation with that character, you would know how they would respond. And so when you're writing, a lot of times you get bought into where you want the story to go. But a lot of times those characters are like, nah, I wouldn't do that. And so you're like, oh well, you wouldn't do that. So
That blows my mind. Honestly, that just, and I've got enough issues with my brain telling me things and me talking to myself and answering, but that just blows my mind how that
yeah,
could happen.
it's pretty funny when it happens.
It's gotta be. It's gotta be.
Yeah.
One of the things, BB Olson, that you write that you did have a second book in you.
Mhm.
Back to the first book, if you don't
Mhm.
mind. What did it feel like completing it and saying, okay, now take it away and publish it? It's out of my hands. I mean, what was that like?
Oh man, you know what? It had been such a long time. I worked in that book. I worked in the book for so many years that part of it was like finally, like I had spent so many years, and so for so long, you just don't know if anybody ever read it besides yourself. It's just a file on your computer for so long, and then you kind of hope and pray that one day it'll get published. And so when it finally happens, it's like, oh, finally. And then you kind of worry like, oh, now I hope people like it.
Well, I mean, people love your work.
Yeah, I mean,
I,
that's been so gratifying, honestly. Just people's reception to it. I get messages on Twitter and Instagram from kids who say that, oh, I love this. I love this part happening. I wish this wouldn't happen. They give you writing tips like you should do this in the second book. So
the
that's so
kids
great.
do. The kids give you writing tips. Is that right?
Yeah,
That's
they sure
cute,
do.
though. That's beautiful, right?
It's awesome, man. I love it. I love interacting with kids. They're so great.
Oh God, I love that. I love that.
Yeah,
You also, I love that the kids give you
yeah,
suggestions. That's very, I could see, like your wife or other people with
yeah.
kids actually come in on that. That's great. With the
Mhm.
success, again, the international success, to be able to write something that is, I don't know how I want to say it, it's that relatable from so many different cultures, again,
Mhm.
literally around the world.
Mhm.
The universality of it. I don't know. Maybe I'm saying that's just got to feel like what?
Honestly, it's kind of surreal, honestly, because I mean, like I said, you write in your computer on it, and you're kind of alone, and you just kind of hope people like it. You just don't know how people are going to respond to it, and so that for it to win awards in other countries,
Yeah.
I think it's won awards in Denmark, and it's won an award in Australia, and it won an award in France, and it's just the to kind of see that other people can read the same story and get something out of it. That's just it's just surreal, it doesn't feel like real life sometimes.
I mean, it's, again, the ability for people in other cultures, other countries to be able to relate to it, even
Mhm.
diverse people in the United States to be able to
Mhm.
relate to the character and understand. Is that part
Mhm.
to help with Amari to help people understand what her life was like?
Yeah,
Is that
I
right?
think Mars, ultimately she's kind of an outcast where she's at the beginning of the book she's a poor kid who goes to the rich kid school, and then and later on she's the new person who goes to the summer camp where all these kids who've known about the supernatural world their whole life. And so
Yeah,
I think that's something anybody can relate to. We've all felt like like we didn't fit in someplace, and I
sure.
think that's something no matter who you are, where you're from, you've been in that situation. And I think that's what makes it so relatable, and how people can find a hook in the story and
That
get involved.
Yeah, that people can relate on whatever level they're
Yeah,
relating to. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm
absolutely.
sure, BB, also when you say that, I've got to believe everyone at some point has felt that they didn't
Yeah,
fit in.
absolutely,
So
absolutely.
it's very relatable, literally
Absolutely.
around the world. Again, your website is bbalston.com. We've got links up at louisfreeshow.com, wfmj.com, etc. bbalston.com. And of course, the book is available everywhere online.
Mhm.
I always like to say, please try to buy it as close to home as possible. It's
Mhm.
at your local booksellers, Barnes and Noble, etc.
Hmm.
You can find it everywhere, and just released the new book yesterday.
Hmm.
How does it feel? I mean, I know it's just released yesterday.
Hmm.
How's it feel for you?
Oh, I'm excited. I'm also nervous because so many people love the first book. It's always that fear that you're gonna let some people down. So I'm excited. I'm also nervous, and I'm just kind of eager to see what people think.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the success again around the world, New York Times, Sunday Times, etc.,
Hmm.
going to be incredible
I
because
hope so. I certainly hope so.
people want more.
Yeah.
Again, okay, here comes, I'm the king of the bad analogy. Here comes one. Like sweets with sweets. You always
Uh-huh.
want more. I read that
Oh,
on
absolutely.
your website. You can, when
Absolutely.
not writing, it can be found eating too many sweets and exploring country roads to see where they lead. Tell
Yeah.
me about that, if you would.
Which part is the sweets
Oh,
or the
oh,
country road?
go for it. Go for it.
Okay, so the sweets is probably a problem at this point. I eat sweets all day, every day. I got cupcakes I can't wait to get back to in the other room. Oh, oh man. And as far as exploring country roads, I just think it's fun to get out and drive. I live in the South where they get a lot of kind of rural areas, so it's a lot of dirt roads and a lot of
Right.
roads that lead into the country, and you just never know what you'll find. You might find an old church
Yeah.
that's been abandoned, or some old historical sites. We found a train museum the other day. I thought that was the coolest thing.
Yeah, that's great. Again, I love your personality is great. You're so
Awesome. Oh,
upbeat.
thank you.
And again, for young people, and I'm going to say not so young people, the new Amari and the Great Game. Of course, the first book is Amari and the Night Brothers. And again, I can say it over and over. I know you got to split in a minute, but 27 countries, international bestseller. The movie. Can you take a minute and tell me what's going on with the movie?
So I just read the latest script and it's great. So far we're looking at directors, and we got Marsai Martin set the stars of Amari. We got Don Cheadle involved, Universal Pictures. And so right now we're just kind of hoping we're waiting to get that final green light so we can kind of go ahead with a schedule for its filming and release dates, and we should know something by the end of the year. So fingers crossed that everything kind of
Oh,
works out in
that's
the
great.
end.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know it will. You know it will. BB Alston, I've just had a blast talking with you. When that gets finalized or whenever, I would love to talk with you more. You're
I
just,
love to come back.
I love the personality. Seriously, I mean, your personality, your attitude of gratitude, etc. is so, I can feel it, and I
Thank you so much.
appreciate that. Thank you. Thanks for doing the gig with me this
Oh,
morning.
thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
Oh, thank you. Again, HarperCollins. So again, the book can be had anywhere, everywhere online. What a great guy he is. I never know when I talk with somebody or have